and active military will save an additional $500 off your purchase. Visit our beautiful showroom at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton or at mybathcreations.com and upgrade your new bath today.
Swing by Frickers today and treat yourself to our irresistible ribs and chunks special. Enjoy tender, saucy ribs grilled to perfection, paired with your choice of frickin' chicken chunks, boneless wings, or traditional wings, plus homemade slaw, your favorite side, and a roll, all for just $16.99. Don't forget, kids eat free all day, every day at Frickers. So bring the whole family for great food, family fun, and all the sports action you crave. At your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
If you need new roofing, siding or gutters, skylights or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. See Lance Roofing and Siding at their new location at 6903 Dayton Springfield Road in Enon. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722. Online at lanceroofing.com.
Bang! There's a train. Stop signs and crosswalks just aren't enough. Overgrown vegetation makes a bad crossing worse. Almost half of Ohio's railroad crossings don't have gates and flashing lights. Bam! You're dead. Gates and lights save more lives than stop signs or crosswalks alone. Report bad railroad crossings at angelsontrack.org. That's angelsontrack.org. Because bad crossings kill good drivers. Sponsored by Angels on Track, aired by OAB and this station.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like head administrator for a state-of-the-art surgical center.
What can I do for you, Doc?
We need to talk about the lights.
Ah, the mood lighting, relaxing, right? Much better than those old hospital vibes.
A hospital's supposed to have hospital vibes.
You seem tense. Let's dim the lights a bit.
This is your time for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
Exactly, Stephen A. He's been here for 10 years, and we're still trying to figure him out. The Justin Kenner Show, weekdays at 3 p.m., right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. You want hot takes?
No, I'm not going to apologize to Ryan Day. Everything we said about Ryan Day up until the playoffs was true.
Not bad. Come on, Kenner. You can do better than that.
To be fair, of all the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, Joe Burrow is the least accomplished.
Getting better.
1,000,000%. I 1,000,000% believe that the Dayton Flyers are afraid of the Wright State Raiders. That's why they come up with every excuse in the book not to play them.
There it is. The hottest take of them all. It's the Justin Kenner Show, presented by Frickers, live on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, welcome in. It's the Justin Kenner Show, presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. We did not get into ESPN's top 10 quarterback controversy yesterday. I want to open up the show with this topic today. So I have always made the comment that for Joe Burrow being the least protected quarterback in the NFL on the field, I have always felt that Joe Burrow is actually the most protected quarterback off the field. You never hear national analysts criticize Joe Burrow, despite the fact that he hasn't made the playoffs in 3 years and despite the fact that he's just never on the field. He's always banged up, always injured, and there always seems to be an excuse. But I've always noticed that, Joe Burrow never gets criticized for anything. It's always, the Bengals haven't been good, but that's not Joe Burrow's fault. That offensive line's not good. That's not Joe Burrow's fault. The Bengals haven't made the playoffs in 3 years. That's not Joe Burrow's fault. But, if the Bengals do make the playoffs for 3 straight years, that's because of Joe Burrow. All the wins that they've had over the last 3 years, even falling short of the playoffs, it's because of Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow could do no wrong. And I feel like some of that protective armor is starting to kind of fade. I feel like the media is getting a little bored with Joe Burrow. I thought it was interesting yesterday, or earlier in the week, I should say, ESPN put out their top 10 NFL quarterbacks. And of course, not really ESPN. This is, these rankings or this list is put together based on the accumulation of votes and data from, of course, NFL coaches, executives, and scouts. And, Josh Allen coming in at number 1 with Patrick Mahomes number 2, that's not a surprise. I think one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL is finally being properly rated in Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew Stafford has been phenomenal and been phenomenal for a long time. I love to see that he's getting the love that I think he deserves, being in at number 3. But there's Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson coming in at number 4 and 5. And by the way, Joe Burrow still being listed in the top 5. But my goodness, seeing people react the way that they have due to Joe Burrow not being, there are Bengal fans who are really upset at the fact that Matthew Stafford is ahead of Joe Burrow. There are actually people upset that Patrick Mahomes is ahead of Joe Burrow, despite the fact that, well, I mean, if you watch football, that shouldn't be that big of a controversy. Look, Josh Allen, MVP, makes the playoffs every year. I know he didn't win the division last year, but has 5 division championships. Like, the guy comes ready to play every single year. His physical skill set, he doesn't miss games. One of the best throwers in the league, one of the best runners in the league. He doesn't miss games. He's tough. He's durable. This isn't really that hard to figure out. Patrick Mahomes, of course, his first down year last year, so he gets bumped to number 2. Matthew Stafford deserves to be a number 3. Now an MVP. A Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP, a regular season MVP. All the Rams do is win. He doesn't miss a lot of games. This guy's tough. He's durable. He gets the job done. Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson being there at 4 and 5, it's simply because of talent, not because of anything else. And I say that because my problem, I don't really have a problem. I don't really care about these rankings too much, but if you're going to if you hear a lot of the reasons that national media has Joe Burrow bumped down on this list, it's, well, because he's not available, he's not durable, he's not this, then why is he at number 4? I wouldn't keep him out of the top 3 just because he's not durable and he's never healthy and he's not tough and can't play. I would bump him out of 4. I'd bump him out of 5. I wouldn't even put him in the top 10. If he's not reliable, don't put him in the top 10. You can't sit there and say, well, he's not tough and he doesn't play a lot. He's not available, so I can't put him in the top 3. That doesn't make any sense to me, especially because the guy at number 2 missed a lot of games last year, and we don't even know exactly how healthy he is to start this season. But that's besides the point. The question I have is, Bengals fans, do you feel like the national media is starting to kind of lose its, passion, if you will, for Joe Burrow? Do you feel like the faith that all the national media and media in general has had in Joe Burrow, do you believe that's starting to fade away? It's interesting listening to shows throughout the week, hearing people talk about Joe Burrow. There were some that were trying to defend Joe Burrow on First Take today, talking about the fact that when he is on the field, all right, he's arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. But the problem is he's never on the field, and that's something that they discussed earlier today on First Take.
And it's how you have to evaluate a quarterback. But if you said if everything was equal and they both had their A game, I'll take Burrow.
I mean, this isn't Madden. We don't get to put them out there. Wear and tear is a part of it. Injury,
turn
durability.
Injuries off.
Oh, yeah, you can't turn injuries off. It matters.
Early in his career, Stafford had that.
Yeah.
He got over it.
All right,
and now we're talking about him like he's,
Now Sam Bradford, he has been that dude since he's went to an organization that's been a well-run organization.
Yeah.
It's funny to watch the pendulum swing on Stafford because during his time in Detroit, a lot of people felt sorry for him. It was a bad situation. Then he goes to L.A. He wins.
Yeah.
So he's
it's not fair for him.
But the thing,
look, the thing that's interesting about the perception of Matthew Stafford is, I don't know. When Kevin and I used to do the show, we were talking about Matthew Stafford and how, you couldn't trust him. He was never available. He was always banged up. And then we had a caller named Pam. Pam is a Detroit Lions fan, and she went off on Kevin and I and said how we did not do our homework and we did not know what we're talking about. And we thought Pam was wrong. But it felt like the national perception was, man, Matthew Stafford misses a lot of games. But when you go and look at it, Matthew Stafford played 12 seasons in Detroit. He started all 16 games or more in 16. He started all 16 games or more in 9 of the 12 seasons that he played in Detroit. Like, he didn't miss games. In fact, he went 6 straight seasons without missing a game. He started every game for 6 straight seasons, didn't miss a game. So this comparison of Joe Burrow to Matthew Stafford, I completely disagree. Matthew Stafford did not miss games. Matthew Stafford is tough. He's durable. He's an Iron Man. I've made the comparisons of Burrow to him as far as, okay, if things don't go well in Cincinnati this year, they're going to have to look to get him out of Cincinnati. Not they, the Bengals, but Joe Burrow and his team are going to have to look to get him out of Cincinnati if he's going to want to have a chance to taste any kind of success, because he won't be able to get it done in Cincinnati, just like Stafford couldn't get it done in Detroit. But this is the most criticism I have heard of Joe Burrow on any of these national shows throughout his entire career. I mean, 6 seasons in the NFL, and he's only played in every game 3 times. That's 50%. I mean, that's not okay. And when you look at the fact that this team has missed the playoffs for 3 straight years, I think it is fair to have the criticism thrown his way that people have been throwing his way, if you will. The other criticism that was thrown his way, or that, another show that was talking about Joe Burrow, which caught me by surprise, Tim Hasselbeck, again, when he looked at this list, they had asked him any surprises. People thought that it was a surprise that, Joe Burrow was in at number 4, that Matthew Stafford was at 3. What surprises were popping out on this NFL top 10 quarterback list that ESPN just released? And it wasn't a surprise that Joe Burrow was at 4. In fact, it was a surprise that Joe Burrow was at 4, but not for the reasons you think.
Joe Burrow is way too high. I just.
Oh, wow.
He's been in the league 6 years. He's started every game of the regular season just 3 times. That's half. So, to think that he's in this rarefied air inside the top, 5 with guys that, consistently play at an MVP level, that are always, seemingly available. That's really surprising to me. And just for a little context, Jared Goff is all the way at 9. Over the last 4 years, Jared Goff is averaging over 4,500 yards, passing, and over 30 touchdowns in the season. Burrow has thrown for over 4,500 yards in a season just twice. He's thrown over 30 touchdowns just 3 times.
Again, no one's questioning whether Joe Burrow is a talented quarterback, but as this issue continues where he's just not available, he's not out there, it's starting to wear on executives around the league, coaches around the league, media around the league, like the people that when you ask to start putting these lists together, that plays a heavy role in how you are perceived. And Joe Burrow was getting a pass for a little bit at the beginning, but now it just seems like with Joe Burrow, even when he's on the field, there's always something that is preventing him from being able to play at the highest of levels. I mean, even a couple years ago, even 2 years ago, when he played the majority of the season, it was still him playing through the pinky injury, through the wrist injury. When he's playing well, his wrist is fine. But every time he'd have a bad throw or he'd throw an interception, the camera would pan over to Joe Burrow and he's holding the wrist. The wrist is all of a sudden a problem again. It's like Tiger Woods with the back. Tiger Woods, when he's golfing well, the back is totally fine. But man, he shanks one, and all of a sudden he's holding on to his back all of a sudden. Like you can't be conveniently hurt when you're not playing well. And I think that media is starting to pick up on that. This is a huge season for Joe Burrow and the Bengals coming up, because it's not like, okay, if Joe Burrow gets injured, what happens if he misses 4 games, 3 games? You could say it's just 3 games, it's just 4 games, but it's 3 more games that he's missed. It's 4 more games that he's missed. Hell, even if it's just one more game that he's missed, he can't continue to rack up games or rack up, missed games every single season, because based on talent, he deserves every dime that he's been paid. But he's also not providing the full value of his contract when he is continuously not out there, or when out there, unable to play to his fullest potential because he's constantly banged up. And like I said, if this is a situation, like sometimes you have an athlete that, okay, the hamstring, it's always a lingering hamstring issue, or he has a bad ankle that always seems to bother him, or the knee, you could come up with treatment plans to treat that knee. But when it's a pinky, it's a wrist, it's an organ, you know what I mean? It's a knee. It's always something that wears on media when they start to, lose confidence in you. And I do believe media not losing confidence in Joe Burrow's ability to play skill set wise, but I do think they're losing their confidence in his ability to just play and be available out there consistently enough for this team to overcome the, organizational dysfunctions that continuously exist within that organization. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, 937-518-1410. That's the number that you can call or text. Do you believe that the media is starting to lose its confidence in Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow continuing to drop in a lot of these QB rankings. I know a lot is being made about Lamar Jackson, by the way, who came in at number 69 in the NFL top 100 list. That is quite a drop. A lot of people talking, I saw Colin Cowherd put his list out today, didn't have Lamar in his top 10. Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, they were the NFL darlings for the longest time. Starting to notice that NFL media is starting to get a little bored with them. Their patience is running thin. It's a big season for both Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. But Bengals fans, do you agree? 937-518-1410. Call or text. Has the media lost faith in your boy, Joe Burrow? 937-518-1410. More of the Justin Kinner Show when we come back.
Hustler Mowers are here to work, known for their reliability, quality, and speed. They're as hardworking as you are, sun up to sundown. Whether you're a homeowner who takes pride in their lawn or a landscaper whose reputation rides on quality equipment that won't let you down, Hustler Church has a wide selection of mowers ready to tackle any job. Come see us today at Small Engine Service Pros at 2030 North Dayton Lakeview Road, Route 235 in New Carlisle to shop our lineup of Hustler mowers today. Visit us online at SESPros.com.
Saw a couple Phillies last night. You saw Bryce Harper.
Hey, I'm Ruben. My band and I have a new song we're getting ready to record this weekend. I'm also a tow truck driver. When you move over and slow down, you're not only giving me room to work, you're making sure I get to go home at the end of the day and see my bandmates.
Roadside workers have lives and families, but when they're on the job, they put it all on the line to protect and serve us. When you see flashing lights, remember, they're not just roadside workers. Thank you for moving over and slowing down.
Nobody builds a business without hearing a few reasons it won't work. Too risky, too crowded, too ambitious. But the people who move things forward usually hear those words first. Because growing a business takes more than optimism. It takes nerve, and eventually, a partner built for what's next. That's Next Rodeo. Big thinking, proven creative. For businesses still moving forward. Next Rodeo. The difference between the business you have and the business you want. Meet us at thenextrodeo.com.
At Harley-Davidson of Xenia, it's more than motorcycles, it's family. It's weekend rides, great events, and unforgettable adventures. This is Kim Arrington, General Manager. Stop in and see our lineup of new and pre-owned bikes and discover what makes Harley-Davidson ownership unlike anything else. Harley-Davidson of Xenia, where riders become family and every road leads to adventure. For more details and events, follow us on hdofxenia.com.
Part Zach Wheeler should have been on this all-star lineup. That's just my opinion. I love the way, number one, that he's returned from injury, and he has come back and showed everyone that, hey, even if you doubt me, I'm a guy that can get it done, especially for this ball club, because I've been
1410 Wing AM, Dayton's ESPN Radio, powered by.
Need better rest? Let Mattress Firm sleep experts match you with the perfect bed at the July 4th sale. They make sleep easy.
KTH Parts Industries in St. Paris is now hiring for third shift stamping equipment support group. You'll have the opportunity to work with cutting edge technology producing high quality automotive components. Do you have this specialized skill in electrical and mechanical aptitude and a working knowledge of troubleshooting electrical units? We're looking for you. KTH offers excellent benefits, including medical, dental, and 401k. Apply today and be valued by a company that sincerely cares about you. Apply online at kth.net, an equal opportunity employer.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can choose the best coverage option for you. Because you know you. Like, you know you can't cook. You're not one of those people who say that they can, but when people come over for dinner, they find out the hard way, you can't. You can't even microwave popcorn, and that's literally just one button. Plus, measuring and patience are huge parts of cooking, and that's just not you. Only you know you. So get coverage options within your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores!
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
What defines Ohio? A place that dares to go first and never looks back. There's no slowing us down. In Ohio, we're powering America, discovering breakthroughs, driving the future, propelling tomorrow. At Jobs Ohio, our mission is clear. Strengthen job opportunities and empower Ohio's workforce. Ohio, our time is now. See Ohio's momentum at jobsohio.com/Ohio's time.
Save big money on your next project when you shop at Menards. Make your home more energy efficient with a new front door from Mastercraft. Building the highest quality doors in a variety of styles and finishes. Shop our wide in-stock selection or design your door your way, in-store or online. Save big on Mastercraft doors. Plus, view our weekly flyer on Menards.com to check out all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids Max Strength. Its dual-active formula has 1,500 milligrams of calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolaids spells powerful relief. 1,500 milligrams is our highest amount of antacid per tablet. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, and we are back. My apologies for the constant buzzing sound in your ear for those who are able to tough it out. The right people have been let known to fix it, and hopefully they decide that it's important enough to fix very soon. But it's not my fault, so for those who are getting mad at me for the sound, my apologies, but I'll be glad to pass on the email of the person that is supposed to fix it because I'm getting tired of it myself. So there you go. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We are presented by Frickers. Excited to be with you here on a Tuesday. Sorry, in one of my Kinner moods today. How about that? But we opened up. I just noticed, like I said, for years I've always said that Joe Burrow, for being probably the least protected quarterback on the field, I've always felt that he has been very protected off the field. I feel like media has always given him a pass for his constant shortcomings. I mean, when you look at the fact that, Josh Allen has an MVP, Lamar Jackson has 2 MVPs. You look at obviously Jalen Hurts, who was taken in the same draft, has 2 Super Bowl appearances, a Super Bowl championship, and a Super Bowl MVP. Patrick Mahomes with all his Super Bowls and MVPs. And you can just keep going down the list. Matthew Stafford, Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl championship, regular season MVP. There are so many talented quarterbacks in the league that have just lapped Joe Burrow when it comes to hardware and individual accomplishments, team accomplishments, and everything. And, Lamar Jackson has won 2 MVP awards, but I feel like gets way more criticism and is held to a completely different standard than Joe Burrow. But again, Joe Burrow has always been given a pass because it seems people want to really love Joe Burrow. People don't want to love the Cincinnati Bengals. That has not been a very flattering franchise. This isn't the Kinner I hate the Bengals hour. It's the reality of it. This is this is the way that people have had to juggle their opinions on Joe Burrow throughout his career. They want to like Joe Burrow. They want to love Joe Burrow, but it just seems everything, there's always something. So a lot of times when Joe Burrow's not available, when he's injured and all that, like people overlook that because they look at the lack of team success and say, well, it's the Bengals. Joe Burrow's never going to accomplish anything in Cincinnati. It was kind of like Matthew Stafford during his time in Detroit. Although I made the comparison earlier, I said I'm not a big fan of comparing Joe Burrow to Matthew Stafford, even though I've done it on many occasions when it comes, though, to the injury conversation. The reason I say this is because Matthew Stafford, everyone talks about Matthew Stafford as if he was this injury-prone quarterback in Detroit. The honest answer is he just wasn't. He just wasn't. He played 12 seasons in Detroit. He started all 16 games in 9 of the 12 seasons that he was in Detroit. And there was a stretch during those 12 years in Detroit where he started every game for 6 straight seasons. So this idea that Joe Burrow, that Matthew Stafford overcame it and that Joe Burrow will too, they never started the race from the same block because Matthew Stafford was never in that race. He was never an injury-prone quarterback the way some people like to try to paint history to, portray that. That's just not the case. Matthew Stafford was never an injury-prone quarterback in Detroit. Oh, but he had injuries. Yeah, every quarterback has injuries. Patrick Mahomes is not an injury-prone quarterback, but he has injuries. That happens. That happens. But Patrick Mahomes, last year, it was a rarity, but missed some games. Doesn't happen often. Josh Allen never misses games. Right? Matthew Stafford. I looked it up. Even in his time with the Rams, people want to talk about, well, Matthew Stafford's been really banged up the last couple of seasons. He's been 5 years with the Rams, and there's only one season where he played 9. He got real hurt at the end of the year. In 4 of the 5 seasons with the Rams, he's played 15 or more games in 4 of the 5 seasons he's been there. I mean, this idea that Matthew Stafford is an injury-prone quarterback is just not accurate. So comparing him to Joe Burrow does not make any sense whatsoever. But I said earlier, I feel like Joe Burrow has always been given a pass because, hey, he gets banged up a lot. Yeah, but it's not his fault. His organization refuses to protect him with an offensive line. Joe Burrow's missed the playoffs for 3 straight years. Yeah, well, it's not Joe Burrow's fault. I mean, look at the organization. Look at, Katie Blackburn. Look at, the general manager. Look at the ownership and blah, 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 blah. It's always line up the excuse book when it comes to, Joe Burrow didn't look good. Joe Burrow made a mistake. Joe Burrow didn't do this. Well, it's not his fault. Joe Burrow has always been overly protected from the media, and some of it is fair because the Bengals are an organization that we knew it was going to be tough for any quarterback to go there and have success. And that's been relatively true throughout Joe Burrow's run, despite the fact that they did make a Super Bowl appearance in his second year there. But I've always said that the Bengals' biggest successful landing point in the Joe Burrow era was making it to the Super Bowl. But all it's really done is just highlight how poor of an organization that they've been because they didn't do anything with that Super Bowl appearance. They never capitalized on that momentum. You had Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins all on rookie deals, and you have nothing to show for it. And you could say, well, they have the Super Bowl to show for it. The Super Bowl in year 2 should have been the starting point. That should have been the floor. And the fact that they never once flirted with getting back to that. Now, to be fair, I am wrong that technically a year later they were back in the AFC Championship game, but they continued to deplete the roster. They didn't aggressively try to add talent to this roster. It's almost like they looked at Joe Burrow and said, man, our defense wasn't really good. Our run game wasn't really good. Our team's not really good, but Joe Burrow, he's going to get us there. And they just looked at Joe Burrow and said, go do it. And then when they realized that Joe Burrow couldn't just make miracles happen, it's like, okay, I guess we need to go get, they need to trade their top 10 pick to go get a very good, interior defensive lineman, right? Dexter Lawrence, right? Like, this was a very good offseason for the Bengals. I love what they did this offseason. But where were these types of moves over the last couple of years? The lack of these moves is what led to them missing the playoffs for 3 straight years. So when I see these lists come out from ESPN, when I see how all this is put together, it's not just ESPN, it's Fox Sports, it's any, sports platform out there, that, the fact that, we're starting to see people lose faith in Joe Burrow, I'm surprised it's taken this long. Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP, the year that Josh Allen won his first, that technically should have been Lamar's 3rd MVP that year. A 2-time, almost 3-time MVP gets way more criticism. Even with making the playoffs more times than not, even with 2 MVPs, even with being one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the league, gets way more criticism than that of Joe Burrow, who no MVPs, no Super Bowl championships, no Super Bowl MVPs, nothing. Always gets a pass. And I'm noticing that is starting to change. Tim Hasselbeck had a problem with the ESPN or with the top 10 quarterback rankings. He had a problem with Joe Burrow being at number 4, not because he thought he should have been higher, but he thought he was ranked too high. Talked about the fact that Joe Burrow has only started every game in a season, 50% of the seasons that he's been in the league. He's heading into year 7. Only 3 times in Joe Burrow's career has he started every game in a season or played every game in a season. I think that's a fair thing. First Take this morning was talking about the fact that, okay, we're trying to, everyone keeps saying, yeah, but when Joe Burrow's on the field, look how good he is. Well, again, this morning on First Take, they were talking about the fact, well, this isn't fantasy football, or this isn't Madden, where you just take the player and throw him out there. Injuries happen. Injuries always seem to happen. And that concern matters when it comes to these rankings. And people are losing faith in Joe Burrow, which brings me to my next point. This isn't me just saying, ha, ha, I told you so. It's just setting this conversation up for saying just how important this upcoming season is. I thought last year was a very important season because it felt like it was really going to change the perception of the Cincinnati Bengals, good or bad. And it did. It made people look at the Bengals in a very, very negative light. The offseason helped change that slightly, but now they're right back to having expectations. And if this team doesn't do anything but win 12-plus games, if this team doesn't do anything but win this division, if this team doesn't do anything but at least win 1 playoff game, I think that this team should at least get to an AFC championship game. If they don't at least do that, I think that media and everyone and Joe Burrow can't miss 2 or 3 games. Because here's the deal. I think that this team is good enough. If Joe Burrow misses 2 to 3 games this upcoming season, I think they're good enough with Joe Flacco to go win games. I think they could win without Joe Burrow. I think that's how balanced that this team is now. I don't think the defense is great. I don't think that the run game is great, but I think that this team's going to be way more balanced than they have been in recent seasons. So if Joe Burrow does miss some games, I think they're actually going to win in his absence. They didn't lose last year because Joe Burrow got injured and missed games, in week 2. You can maybe make the argument that not having Joe Burrow, they started to lose the next couple of weeks without Joe Burrow. But the second they went and got Joe Flacco, all of a sudden, in the stretch that Joe Flacco was there and Joe Burrow was out, it was the number 1 rated offense in the National Football League. The number 1 rated offense in the National Football League without Joe Burrow. But Bengals fans will try to convince you that, man, this team just falls apart without Joe Burrow. Well, they haven't done much with Joe Burrow when he's out there outside of his year 2 run, which was phenomenal. I'm not here to water that down. I'm just saying Joe Flacco has put them in a position where even if they miss Joe Burrow for a couple games this upcoming season, they're good enough. They should have won those games last year. When he went off, they should have beat the Jets last year. Right? Think about some of those games last year that would have been a big-time difference maker, when it's all said and done. Think about, last year, the fact that this team, what was the win total that they finished with? 6-11. All right? Maybe would have fell just short of the playoffs, but probably would have finished above 500. But think back to that, they win that Pittsburgh Steelers game. They lose 39-38. Joe Flacco, 223 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was phenomenal in that game. 470 yards against the Bears, and they still lose. I mean, the Bengals at that point should have been 5-4. The Bengals should have been 5-4 heading into the bye week, above 500. All right. And then, of course, they take their foot off the gas. They lose to Pittsburgh. They lose a close game to New England. If they have a defense, they get that win right there, right? So it just, to me, at the end of the day, once, that defense, once they realize that it doesn't even matter how good we are offensively, we don't have a chance to win games because of how bad this defense is. They lost games because of the defense. It had nothing to do with the fact that Joe Burrow was out. They lost games because of that defense. It's as simple as that, nonetheless. But I think that this season coming up, the perception of Joe Burrow is starting to dwindle a little bit. People are starting to lose faith in Joe Burrow outside of Cincinnati. You guys worship the ground he walks on. You guys think that he could do no wrong. But I'm telling you, I've never seen more national media talk shows, radio or TV or podcasts or whatever. I've never come across more national talk shows, radio or talk TV, whatever, that have been more critical of Joe Burrow than the stretch of time that they have been now. There's a lot of people who are doubting him, and not his ability, but his availability. That's what they're doubting. And this season, and he could start every game this season. It doesn't erase the fact that there's still going to be concerns. I mean, even after year 7, if he has started every game in 4 of the 7 seasons, there's still going to be those like me who are concerned about his durability issues. But it would be a step in the right direction if he can make it through this entire season, being a leader out there. I think he plays every game. I think he wins an MVP this year. I think he plays the way everyone expects him to, and plays every game, and this team's going to be in contention to win this division and make the playoffs again and all that. I think Joe Burrow, I think it's his turn to get an MVP. And the reason I say that is because, and I don't like that term, his turn, but that's one reason that Josh Allen won his MVP a few years ago. Lamar Jackson's resume was way better than than Josh Allen's, but you kept hearing the phrase, well, it's Josh Allen's turn. Well, I think it's Joe Burrow's turn. I think the NFL has been wanting to anoint Joe Burrow as an MVP. They've been wanting to reward him, but he hasn't put them in position to allow them to do so. So I'll be fascinated to see this season what happens if Joe Burrow cannot make it through an entire season. I don't think missing 1 or 2 games is a big deal. I don't think it's fair, honestly, in the 17-game regular season. I don't think it's fair to ever expect a starting quarterback to make it all 17 games. I just don't, even when it was only 16. But I think when you start missing 3 or more, I mean, that's almost an entire month, right? Even if it's spread throughout the season. I think Joe Burrow has to make at least 15 starts this season for him to be in that MVP conversation and for this team to win this division and accomplish what they set out to do with these offseason moves, and that's be in contention to compete for a Super Bowl nonetheless. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM, 937-518-1410. That's the number to call or text to jump in on the convo. But we'll get back into that coming up in a moment. But real quick, too, while that list is up, I mean, Josh Allen is at number 1, Patrick Mahomes at 2, Matthew Stafford 3, Joe Burrow 4, Lamar Jackson 5. Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert at 6 and 7. Justin Herbert's the interesting quarterback that, I could sit here and say that Joe Burrow is the most protected quarterback in the NFL. I'm willing to put Justin Herbert in that conversation as well. Justin Herbert always seems to be given an excuse very similar to Joe Burrow. And I've always been a big Justin Herbert believer. I thought skill set wise, he's as good as Joe Burrow, in my opinion. I just don't think we've seen him on the same platform because the Chargers haven't been as good. But I've always made an excuse for Justin Herbert as well. But last year, I kind of run out of, patience giving him excuses. I think that this season's as big a season the amount of quarterbacks that are facing a lot of pressure heading into this season. I think Joe Burrow's at the top of that list. Lamar Jackson, people are definitely out on Lamar Jackson. That's not even up for debate. Coming in at number 69 on the NFL top 100 list. My goodness, a 2-time MVP, still in his prime. And a lot of people have not given up on him completely, but they've backed off as far as all the hype is concerned. Justin Herbert's another one that a year from now, what will we be talking about Justin Herbert? What will we be talking about with Joe Burrow? Will it be more of the same excuse making, or are we going to be like, man, people have given up on these guys? And it's not because Justin Herbert's not talented. It's not because Joe Burrow's not talented. It's just that these guys aren't producing the results that matter, and that's wins. And that's what matters. Justin Herbert has a defense, better defense than Joe Burrow does. All right, he has a better offensive line than Joe Burrow does. Joe Burrow has a better wide receiver. He has a better offense. He has better wide receivers, better offense as a whole. Herbert has a better head coach. We'll see. But a year from now, I think it's what will we be talking about with Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow? I think they're very similar. I think they're in the same boat as far as that's concerned. I want to switch gears in a moment and talk Cincinnati Reds. Sal Stewart going to be in action coming up later on tonight with representing the Cincinnati Reds in the All-Star game. But found it interesting. He's made a lot of headlines because he was, when you're at these things, you're being, you're doing your media rounds and you're being asked a lot of questions. He was simply asked his thoughts of a salary cap. And, well, he was asked a question. He gave an answer, and his answer has everybody talking. We'll discuss that when we come back. I see some calls coming in. If I don't get to it right away, continue calling. I'm going to get you guys on hold, and we'll get to your phone calls when we come back. 937-518-1410. More Joe Burrow, more Reds talk when we come back.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have a health reminder from the CDC.
Pneumococcal vaccination is recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Hey, I'm not one to say I told you so, but do you remember last year when I told you that Pure Talk was hands down the best wireless company that I'd ever used? Well, some of you were skeptical, but Consumer Reports just asked 120,000 people to rate every wireless company in America, including the big boys. Well, guess which company was the only company to get 5 stars in every category? Yeah, Pure Talk. Coverage, support, value, data. 5 stars across the board. No service contracts, no cancellation fees, just great U.S. customer service on a crazy fast 5G network for a fraction of what you've been paying. I'm not going to say I told you so, but I will encourage you one more time to dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to a 5-star American wireless company that won't let you down. Pure Talk.
You like saving money, right? We all do. That's why Allstate just lowered the price of car insurance. But wait, there's a catch. Lower. Actually lower. So if you're shopping around or just want to see how much you could save, check Allstate first for a new lower auto rate that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Not available in every state. Only applicable for new auto insurance business. Rates will vary by several factors, including how you purchase the policy. Potential savings vary. Allstate North American Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
We got a sauce snob to review Lee's new famous and Fiesta wraps. He was pretty skeptical, saying things like, gee, more chicken wraps? Lucky me. Then he tasted the Fiesta wrap and started talking about how it was
a suddenly spicy journey filled with chicken, chipotle ranch, Texas Pete dust, and more, whose destination is pure culinary elation.
Shame he was too embarrassed to tell you about it himself. The new Fiesta wrap and Famous wrap, only at Lee's. Famous for a reason.
Liberty Mutual customizes your auto and home insurance so you only pay for what you need. Brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Oh, how great it would feel to have your 20-year-old knees, shoulders, hips, and back.
You know, you don't think about your pains when you're in your 20s or 30s, but you wish you could get that body back when you're in your 60s. I think QC did that for me.
For Patrick, it started with a simple phone call to QC Kinetics.
One day I was driving and I just heard the radio and I pulled over and took the number and I called them when I got home.
Maybe that's you, and you're listening right now. Why wait? QC Kinetics Regenerative Treatments uses your body's own natural biologics to heal and restore damaged tissue without invasive surgery or harmful drugs. And as for the results,
my knees are as good as they were when I was in my 20s. I'm really happy with what happened.
For Patrick, it's like QC Kinetics turned back the clock. Now it's your turn. Call QC Kinetics today for your complimentary consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Trampled by turtles. Live in Dayton for one night only. Friday, July 17th. At Rose Music Center at the Heights with special guest Richie Mitch and the Coal Miners. Tickets starting at only $24 are on sale at Ticketmaster.com and Rose Music Center box office. Don't miss Trampled by Turtles live in concert at Rose Music Center Friday, July 17th.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't. Exactly, Stephen A. He's been here for 10 years, and we're still trying to figure him out. The Justin Kenner Show, weekdays at 3 p.m., right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kenner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, everybody, we are back. It's the Justin Kenner Show here on a Tuesday, 937-518-1410. We'll get into the Reds coming up in just a moment. Sal Stewart yesterday, again, representing the Reds for the National League in the All-Star game, which is coming up later on tonight at 8 o'clock. I'll also talk about the Home Run Derby more coming up here in a second as well. But he was asked about his thoughts on the salary cap. Of course, he gave his opinion, and well, a lot of people jumped on it, including me, and we'll get to that coming up here around the corner. Wrapping up and closing tying up the conversation about Bengals fans and whether you believe that the national media is starting to kind of give up on Joe Burrow a bit, to not give up in regards to not thinking that he's a good quarterback, but they're kind of losing steam with Joe Burrow because they just look at a guy that has all the talent in the world and they know that he could rival any quarterback skill set on the field when he's on the field. But 6 years in the league, and he's only played in every game in 50% of the seasons that he's been around. I was playing a couple audio pieces from some of the shows that have aired throughout the day. Some had compared Joe Burrow's run in Cincinnati to Matthew Stafford with Detroit, saying, well, if Matthew Stafford turned his injury proneness around, that possibly Joe Burrow could as well. The problem I have with that is Matthew Stafford, to me, was never injury prone. 12 seasons with the Detroit Lions, and he started all 16 games in 9 of the 12 seasons. How is that injury prone? What are you talking about? Matthew Stafford's not in the, some have said Matthew Stafford's an injury prone quarterback now. Again, 5 seasons with the Rams, and he has played 15 or more games in 4 of the 5 seasons with the Rams. So Matthew Stafford, people love to kind of throw the injury prone label at him. And I don't understand where that comes from. This is a regular, an MVP, a Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP. Matthew Stafford, I'm glad to see that he's finally starting to get his flowers while he's still in the league. Again, he came in at number 3 on the NFL top 10 quarterback list. But 937-518-1410. This is the most criticism I've heard from national talk shows, whether it be TV or radio, podcasting, when it comes to Joe Burrow. People seem to be losing patience. They're tired of talking about what this team could be when he's out there consistently, and they just want him to be out there consistently. But 937-518-1410, do you agree? Do you think the national media is starting to kind of slow on Joe Burrow a bit. Let's go to Middletown. We got Bobby Mack. Bobby Mack, thanks for holding, sir. You're on live.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I love your show.
Thank you.
I don't know about the media taking it easy on Joe. I don't know if there's anything there to report. He has been injured so much. I think he's not a what if. We wonder what could be if he just stay healthy. He's never healthy. And, I watched a baseball show the other day about all the what ifs, like Pete Reeser kept running into walls and all the way up to Bo Jackson. What could have happened if somebody hadn't been injured? I don't know that you want to take it easy on him because of that, but you have to understand if he ain't playing, there's nothing to report.
Yeah, and look, he started the season last year. He goes out, against Jacksonville in game 2, comes back later in the season, still didn't look completely right, but it wasn't a Joe Burrow issue when he came back. It was just that defense was so historically bad. But what this season sets up, is the fact that, okay, they addressed the defense, all the contract distractions from previous seasons. Those are no longer the case. There's reports coming out that they're going to lean into doing more under center, him under center, more play action, getting the run game involved more. This might be the most balanced Bengals team that he's played on, but he has to be out there to play. I think there's a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow to obviously stay healthy. It's nothing he can or can't do. It's just, the injury proneness thing gets so frustrating after a while.
Yeah, it does. I just wonder what would happen if he did play a whole season. They went to the Super Bowl that one year, but he was hurt some that year even.
Yeah, he started, I think he played every game that year, but he started, you remember that slow start where he just didn't look like himself. And there's been a few seasons that where even when he's played, he hasn't looked like himself for the first couple of games. And then by the time he starts looking like himself, they're digging themselves out of a hole.
Yeah, I remember that. I was wondering if maybe there were some injuries involved there. I don't want to make up excuses. I think he's a good quarterback. He's just got to stay healthy, and I'm hoping you're right. Maybe this is a better team behind him this year. We'll see.
If he starts every game, healthy. Bobby Mack, if he stays healthy all season this year, what's the ceiling for this team? Is this a Super Bowl championship team in your opinion?
Honest, just exactly what you're saying. Nobody knows. He hasn't done it yet.
Yeah.
When he stays healthy, I'd like to see what happens. It's not a guaranteed that if he stays healthy, we're going to win, but I'd just like to see what happens when he does stay healthy.
Yep. They go a long way. They invested a lot into him, into his weapons, but all of it means nothing if he's not out there. So we'll see what happens.
And even if he's out there, we don't know yet.
Yep. But
we don't know.
I appreciate the call and thank you for holding.
Appreciate you having me. Thanks a lot.
All right, 937-518-1410. It's the Justin Kinner Show here on a Tuesday. We'll get back into more of that coming up later on in the show. All right, I want to switch gears here. Look, so much has been now that, a year ago, the All-Star break, okay, and tonight's the All-Star game, by the way, 8:00. And, Dylan Cease will be starting for the, American League. Sanchez will get the start for the National League from the Phillies, by the way. But a year ago at this time, one of the bigger storylines that popped out of the All-Star break was it was actually, on the night of the All-Star game when Rob Manfred made his way and he goes into both clubhouses to address the players. And I guess when he, walked into the National League clubhouse, Bryce Harper was there waiting for him and got in his face and told Rob Manfred to get the F out of our clubhouse. And I know I've shared this story on multiple occasions and how I've really left a bad taste in my mouth because a lot of fans actually love that he did that. A lot of fans like to blame Rob Manfred for a lot of baseball's problems, but honestly, Rob Manfred has dug baseball out of just a slump. I mean, baseball was really drowning for a bit. I mean, ratings were plummeting, attendance was plummeting. There was no interest in it. I mean, the World Series ratings, I mean, usually that's the ratings that you can count on to at least say, okay, people still do care. When no one was giving a damn about the World Series even, that was a concern. Rob Manfred has baseball back on track. I mean, it's one of the most talked about sports. Attendance is back through the roof. Ratings are through the roof. There's young stars all throughout baseball. There's parity throughout the sport. And a lot of that has to do with a lot of the changes that Rob Manfred and his team invested into the sport. And so to have a player like Bryce Harper get into the face of Rob Manfred and say, get the F out of our clubhouse, all because Rob Manfred is for, him and his team are for, proposing a salary cap and obviously a salary floor, all of a sudden the players are acting like a bunch of children, throwing temper tantrums, and a grown adult walked up to another elder adult and said, "Get the F out of our clubhouse." And we as fans cheered that. We thought that was okay. We thought that was right. And I have no clue why. Because the man-child that told him to get the F out of the clubhouse, our interests and his interests don't align. You actually should not be supporting Bryce Harper and what he wants. You should not be supporting the players and what they want, because the players getting what they want means more of us continuously, getting excited about the Reds every year on opening day and continuously being disappointed. Now, I will say a salary cap being implemented doesn't all of a sudden make the Reds a great organization. It does not. There has to be a lot of organizational changes throughout for that to be the case. But I don't think that it matters unless you have a billionaire owner. I don't think that the Reds are ever going to get out of their own way. And when you have organizations like the Reds, who I have said have hurt baseball more than the Dodgers. A lot of people want to say that the Dodgers are bad for baseball. I've been on the opposite side of that, saying I think that teams like the Reds are bad for baseball. But I do believe that baseball needs some kind of balance of not just a salary cap, but a salary floor. I'm not a fan of just a salary cap. I mean, telling the Dodgers that they can't spend X, Y, and Z just so that certain players can go hit the free agent market and have more than half the league not even be interested in signing that player because they don't want to spend that kind of money, it kind of defeats the purpose of the salary cap. So I do believe there needs to be a cap and a floor. We've had this discussion many, many times, and we're going to continue to have it because I believe we're going to have plenty of time to discuss it, because I don't think there's going to be a season next year. There's going to be a lockout. So Sal Stewart was asked about his thoughts on a salary cap. Would he be for a salary cap? And I was really interested to see what Sal Stewart, a rookie, a young player, making his all-star debut, a year ago at this time, he was, playing in the futures game. And now here he is, in his rookie season, a dominant rookie season, by the way, most home runs hit at the all-star break since Frank Robinson back in the 50s. That's the type of season he's having. I think that, I'm very curious to see what a guy like Sal Stewart has to say, because he's one that's trending in a direction of getting a major payday down the road. But Sal Stewart had this to say when he was asked at the All-Star game, what do you think about, of course, a salary cap?
I think it's bad for everyone. I think it's even bad for the teams, bad for the players, bad for everyone. So, I'm not in favor.
Well, again, you can't really hear it because, again, our audio at this station does not work. And, again, I'll give you the email of the person that you can send your complaints to instead of me to get that audio fixed. But that's besides the point. Sal Stewart, if I could translate for you, said he's not for it at all. He said it's bad for everyone. It's bad for the players. It's bad for the teams. It's bad for everyone, he said, and he's not in favor of it. Everyone, huh? Like, I do believe pro sports, there's three sides to this. There is the fans, there is the players, and there's the owners. And there will never be a decision that is made that is going to appeal to everybody. All right. There's not going to be a lot of things that happen that make the fans happy, the players happy, and the owners happy. There has to be a lot of give and take. And the players have not had to really give anything. They've been doing all the taking while the owners, and Major League Baseball suffers and the fans suffer. And you're going to say, well, how have the billionaire owners suffered? I'm with you. I'm not a bootlicker for the owners, so maybe I shouldn't have said it that way. But honestly, the fans get screwed over all the time in this situation. But if the owners who want a salary cap get that, we as fans win. More of our teams are going to have a chance to get the bigger name players instead of the same 3 or 4 teams every year swooping in and taking the big name free agents and then saying everyone, okay, the 5 teams who are willing to spend good bit. This is why I think the salary floor needs to be implemented, because the floor is going to force teams like the Reds and Pirates and others who don't spend to spend. And then the ceiling is going to prevent the Dodgers from just spending and just basically collecting them all like they're Pokemon. So when I hear Sal Stewart say that, I don't like that. I want to like Sal Stewart, but I don't like hearing Sal Stewart say that, well, it's not good for everyone. What do you mean it's not good for everyone? It would be good for us as the fans. And keep in mind, the money that you are trying to position yourself to get would not be there if it wasn't for us, the fans. If the fans don't like you and the fans don't like your team and the fans don't like your sport and the fans don't like your league and the fans don't go and support that said league and team and players, and they don't go to games, they don't tune into games, and TV deals go down and revenue goes down, guess what, buddy? With all the money that they're spending out there without a salary cap, they're not going to have much money to give you because people are going to start to disconnect from you. That's one reason why I think that the NBA started to struggle for as long as it did, is because there was a good chunk of fans that felt like, oh, the players don't give a damn about me. The players don't care about us, the fans. Have you noticed the connection that fans are starting to have with the NBA again? And I'm not saying it's right, but when you find out that Jalen Brunson, who's such a likable guy, who took less money so that his team can invest into the roster, and guess what happens? They win a championship, and now he's looked at as this unselfish savior. And it's not just him. I mean, Donovan Mitchell signed a max contract, yes, but he could have waited an entire season and signed this deal next summer, and it would have cost the Cavs $50 million more, but he saved the Cavs $50 million so that they could invest it into the roster over that time. Wembanyama is doing the same thing in San Antonio, and guess what? Now all of a sudden, these NBA players are becoming likable because they're becoming less selfish, and it's not, okay, I got to get every dollar that's coming to me. It's, okay, if I shed a few dollars here and there, and I start winning, I'm going to be more in demand because of winning instead of getting all my money now and playing on a struggling to losing basketball team. And they're becoming more likable. They're becoming more and more likable, and the league is benefiting from that, in my opinion. Baseball, there's nothing likable about these guys. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about the communities and the cities of which they play in. They have no problem whenever they get their big contracts of the money that comes to them due to the interest in the sport that comes from the fans. But then when the fans truly want something, you have tone-deaf people like Sal Stewart stepping up to the mic and saying, it's going to be bad for everybody. Well, you're forgetting the most important piece to the puzzle, and it's not you. It's actually me. It's actually you listening right now. It's us, the fans. The fans are the most important piece to this, not the billionaire owners, not the entitled professional athletes here in America. It's actually us, the fans. It's us, the fans. Because if us as the fans don't have an interest in you or your sport or just find you unlikable, that's not a good thing. And I find Sal Stewart unlikable right now when he says idiotic things like everyone suffers from this. Oh yeah, everyone suffers from this. The fans would just suffer greatly from players getting all the money and then teams not spending money because they can't afford the players and blah, 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 blah. And again, there's going to be a pocket of you out there that counter with, oh, these teams could afford the players. It's easy to spend someone else's money. It's frustrating. I know that the Castellinis have the money to spend. They don't. But guess what? That's why the salary cap, you need to push for it, because the salary cap will come with a salary floor. And that's where we win. That's where the fans win. When the Reds are forced to spend $150 million a year, we win. It doesn't mean that they're winning a World Series, but my goodness, now the entire calendar for every team in baseball is going to be fun and exciting, like it is in the NFL, like it is in the NBA, and like it is in the other sports that have a salary cap. But the tone deafness of a Sal Stewart to sit there and say it's bad for everybody. You've been brainwashed by your fellow entitled athletes and teammates and cohorts around the league. You've been brainwashed by them. They've made you think that you're all that matters, and you don't. The fans matter. And I'm very fascinated by this collective bargaining agreement, this lockout that is coming, because there will not be a season next year. I mean, my goodness, can you imagine? Like, we all have basically accepted in our heads that the Reds and Elly De La Cruz will not happen long term. But if we, the fans, get what we want, salary cap, salary floor, guess who might be able to afford Elly De La Cruz? The Cincinnati Reds. And you could say, well, if they could afford it, if they're being forced to, they could afford it now. You're right. You're right. But if they're not being forced to, they're not going to spend their money. But if they're being forced to spend their money and they have to spend it on something, Elly De La Cruz's, probability of staying in Cincinnati lasts long term. By the way, I think the Reds are making a mistake not trying to get Sal Stewart a cheap long-term deal done right now, like the Cardinals did with their young player. But all the reports and all the reporters that I talked to that cover the Reds have come out and said the one reason the Reds are kind of sitting on their hands and not agreeing to any long-term contracts right now is because they want to see what happens with this collective to be forced to spend $150 million a year. And I think that's pathetic. I don't think that they should be forced to spend $150 million for them to decide that they want Sal Stewart long-term. I think they're actually, flirting with disaster, because if Sal Stewart continues to have a monster second half of the season, he may look at the Reds and say, I'm not doing you a favor in signing a long-term deal. I'm going to gamble on myself because I'm going to get my money one way or another. Now, if you do that, you risk being a Matt McClain, because Matt McClain was trending in that direction as well. And we all know how that crashed for him. But yeah, the Sal Stewart, the tone deaf comments from him, it's horrible. It's bad for everyone. No, We always act like it's just the players and the front office, the Players Association against the league. Now, we the fans matter in this too. And sometimes players need to sacrifice some stuff. And you could say, well, that's how they make their living. Excuse me, if little old normal me, okay, is not concerned about, they might have 1 or 2 less zeros in their paycheck. I don't care. I don't care about their paychecks. I don't care about their money. I don't care about any of that because they don't care about how we make our living. We don't care. They don't care about any of that. So why should I care about that? It's not that I don't care, but I don't care. I'm not going to sit here and say, you're right. I'll continue to deal with the Reds having a losing season every year and a cheap front office just so some yahoo can go out to the Dodgers and make $1 bajillion a year. You're right. I don't care about your money situation. Your money's just fine. It'll be just fine. Mine, on the other hand, not so much, but it is what it is. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show here on a Tuesday. 937-518-1410. Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits.
Jake from State Farm. I just beat my